The Nigerian Bar Association has called on the police and the Anti-Corruption Agency, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) to arrest with the view of interrogating and possibly prosecution of Senator Adamu Bulkachuwa for allegedly influencing the cause of justice, especially in election matters. The NBA National Presidential Mr. Yakubu Maikiu, a senior advocate of Nigeria, said he had already registered his disappointment and displeasure with the National Judicial Council because the disgusting and despicable conduct of Senator Bulkachuwa was a direct attack on the integrity of the judiciary. Senator Bulkachuwa is the husband of the immediate past president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa, retired. However, during the valedictory session of the 9th Senate, her husband said his wife used her position as a judge to favor his political associates.
I don't think I will lobby anybody under the sun. I would do the right thing, and I always do the right thing, and sincerely and honestly too. So, I know, I look at faces in this chamber whom have come to me and sought for my help when my wife was the president of the Court of Appeal. And I'm sure I'm...
Distinguished Senator Adam Ahmed Bulkachuwa, I think I will advise that you just round up and take your seat.
Name any names. We know ourselves. I must say that, okay, to round up, since that's what you want me to do, I will do that. And I must thank particularly my wife, whose freedom and independence I encroached upon while she was in office. And she has been very tolerant and accepted my encroachment and extended her help to my colleagues.
Distinguished, please, I don't think this is a good idea going this direction. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea.
Well, Rise News analyst Mr. Dayo Sobowale joins us again, this time to discuss the controversy being generated by the frank admissions of the Bauchi senator, in addition to calls for a probe and his prosecution for ostensibly influencing his wife to pervert the course of justice. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sobowale.
Well, it's a pleasure of being here as usual.
Of course, you heard that loud and clear. Now, with the calls for the Nigerian Bar Association, do you think that it's time to proceed with an interrogation and prosecution?
Let me, first of all, declare my sympathy for the wife. The retired judge who retired in 2020 and must have been enjoying a retirement until this matrimonial outburst on the Senate, on the floor of the Senate. Aside from the sympathy, my job here is to analyze what transpired. This looks like fiction, but it is very real, very, very real, because we all heard him. The man in full control of his senses and in royal regalia, like a full senator of the Republic, uttering what he just said about his wife. What he has said is an assault on the reputation and integrity of the wife as a judge. It's an assault on a separation of powers in the presidential system. Because we practice the presidential system where you have checks and balances. But this elderly senator, in just one fell swoop like that, has violated our constitution. Get me? He has gone, he has declared to us. Somebody called him a whistleblower. I don't see him as that. And it's worse than that. He has declared on the floor of the Senate, where they make laws, where they make bills and make laws, that he has interfered in the interpretation of the law in the judiciary in his own house. And he has used that influence to favor his fellow politicians and legislators. It is a constitutional violation. The Bar Association, the Nigerian Judicial Institute, so many bodies have said so many things. But then, it is a violation of the Constitution. The judiciary is separate from the legislature and the checks and balances have been put in. But through a matrimonial arrangement, domestic arrangement, somebody has confessed openly. And he knew what he was saying. He spoke of encroachment on the independence and, well, maybe in the integrity of the wife. So I don't know what got into his mind to say this. Obviously, he has a grouse about his carpet crossing from PDP to APC. He still has that grouse with APC because he was saying it that he knows they don't like his crossing over. But what has that got to do with the integrity and reputation of the wife who has just retired?
Definitely, and Mr. Sobowale, I think that's the question that is on the minds of a lot of Nigerians after watching that.
It is unbelievable because it is like deliberately throwing spanner in the works of a retired person, the right of that person to earn a peaceful retirement, or maybe they have some matrimonial problem and he decided to settle scores in the open. You can give so many interpretations. Because this man, you can see, he was fully dressed for the occasion, looking like a sultan of nowhere, and he was saying all this in broad daylight. It is unbelievable.
I mean, when we look at the confession of influencing the course of justice and the fact that, you know, the ICPC and the NBA has called for the prosecution of Senator Bulkachuwa, if we look at the fact that he said that this, you know, these conversations or this encroachment happened between him, between him and his wife. Now, we're looking at how these comments are going to have a huge negative impact on the integrity and the independence of the judiciary. There have already been calls for, you know, all the cases that she handled in the 8 years while she was, you know, in charge of the Court of Appeal to be reviewed and reanalyzed. Do you think that's the way to go?
I don't buy into that. I don't buy. You see, the woman has retired. She has given judgment. Well, there are some people who have sour grapes on the judgment she has given. She would have done them fairly and thoroughly. But if the judgment is not on their side, they will come after her. Okay, like Olisa Agbakova said, there are 3 cases and he lost them, but they got to the Supreme Court. The lady was at the Court of Appeal. So which means the Supreme Court agreed with what she said. See, I don't believe in retrospectively punishing somebody. It is not fair. The woman has done a bit, she has gone. What the judiciary should do is to put their house in order. Call their judges to order. You see, and incidentally, I think we have more female judges in Nigeria than in many other countries. But when I was in school, more women study law. Invariably, that men. I think in Lagos State, yeah, almost all the judges, except a few, get me, are ladies. And they work very well. They will have family. And I've never seen a case like this before. Especially the public exposure. It's not as if the man has some medical problems or so. He said it in full and was being prompted not to go in that direction. He was invoking his age and his malice against APC for making him to cross over. So something is manifestly rotten. They say something is rotten in the state of Scotland. Something is rotten, obviously, in the judiciary, and something is very, very glaringly rotten in the legislature, because he said it on the floor of the
So, Mr. Sobowale, you mentioned earlier that this was an assault on the integrity and reputation of his wife, and what was also cited by the NBA was that this is something that also puts their integrity in question. So when you consider what time it is right now in Nigeria, we have a lot of cases in courts with politicians seeking or cases in tribunal, yes. How do you think that this might affect the outlook, how it's viewed by the polity?
It puts a question mark on the integrity of judges, puts a question mark on their objectivity, on their professionalism. But then, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. There must be a way that the Nigeria Judicial Institute must intervene. Even the Bar Association, it's not enough for them to be, it's not fair to try somebody retrospectively, especially somebody who has retired. If they must wash their dirty linen in public, they can say they will probe her, go and look at all our something. But then, if other people come out, spouses, both male or female, come out to make the same allegations, will we be able to handle fresh cases?
Sure.
Yes.
Definitely.
So don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. This is an aberration. The Bar Association should know how to handle it. It is a violation of the Nigerian Constitution. Constitutionalism is working according to the rules of the Constitution. If it has been violated, those who are in charge should know what to do. Like, for example, Trump is being dealt with in the US now by the Ministry of Justice and FBI. You get me? We have our own DSS, we have our intelligence agency, we have, you know, we have so many bodies that could take part in this. So they should know. But it's an aberration, it's an unpleasant day for our presidential system of separation of powers and checks and balances, which have been thrown overboard.
I mean, still on the matter of separation of powers,
yes.
Mr. Sobowale, what measures, if any, would you suggest could be implemented to prevent similar instances of undue influence on the judiciary by public officials in the future?
No, people should just follow the letter of the Constitution. The executive is to run the country. The legislature is to make bills, pass laws, check the executive. The judiciary is to interpret the Constitution. That is it. We have a Constitution that is written boldly in black and white. Constitutionalism is following it. It has been violated now, domestically, matrimonially, and legislatively and nationally. So, what do we do about that? You have a law that has been broken. Let the appropriate authorities that deal with violators of the Constitution know what action to take. It's not the Bar Association. The Bar Association is part and parcel of the whole exercise. The bar and bench. Abi? So let the appropriate authorities take the action they need to do to deter this sort of nasty experience that we are seeing in the legislation. And it's a lesson for incoming legislators of the 10th Assembly to learn from. Although you might say the man is an old man, over 80, but he doesn't sound senile. He sounds more arrogant and was trying to use his age to tyrannize everybody. And he spoke from both sides of his mouth in the process and embarrassed and ruined the reputation of the wife.
Very damning.
Indeed.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rise Analyst Mr. Dayo Sobowale. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for your time.